finally got the cash together and went and picked it up for $1,500. And I've been dumping money into it since then. But it's a passion, so I don't worry about the money.
The automobile, man's one true invention that has turned in time from a mode of transportation into a coveted item for some. Whether it was wrecked in an accident years prior or left to rot in an old barn in the Midwest, there has been and always will be someone who has a connection to that car, no matter what the condition. Most car enthusiasts work and store their cars at their home or garage, but Ray uses his place of work not only for storing his work supplies, but also to work on his various personal projects.
We're at the street races in San Fernando Road out in the valley, and the cops show up and they block off both sides. There's a helicopter, and I look to see where he's at. I'm like, Kiki, come on, let's go. And he's gone, nowhere to be seen. So I head back to the car, and he's hiding underneath the seat. Let's go, I'm scared, let's go. So we take off. We make fun of him all the time. Next time, you want to go to street races? No, I don't want to go. But yeah, it was a trip. Yeah, I read that article where they say that most of these old muscle cars, they're polluting the environment. But if they think about it, most of these people that have old muscle cars, they've restored them to better condition than they were when they first came out. So, and they don't drive them as much, so they don't pollute. But no, it would be sad to see all these cars gone. I mean, every time I drive my car, either one of them, somebody says, "Oh, I remember that when I was a little kid. Oh, my mom used to have one, or my dad used to have one." You know, and it feels good because, you know, they're still around. And eventually everything's fading out. This is a 1961 Impala frame with the 348 tri-power 350 horse, which is pretty rare. That eventually is going to make it underneath that black car, the 61 Impala. This is what you call a ground up restoration. Pretty much everything's been taken apart, every nut and bolt. It's got a 4-speed transmission. You know, it's been a probably a 12-year project, little by little. I want to do it right because these cars are pretty valuable. And then this is the car itself, which has been painted. It doesn't look like it's been painted, pretty dusty, but it's ready to go on the frame. And then this is a 65 Chevelle wagon, station wagon. And it has a 572 cubic inch big block Chevy that puts out 750 horsepower. And this is another project that's pretty close. Had the windshield put in today. After that is just pretty much fuel lines and brake lines and little stuff here and there, and it's ready to go on the road. And then this is a 1963 Nova SS that convertible that they only made 1 year SS Nova convertible. I added rack and pinion front end with big brakes, disc brakes. It had a 550 horsepower small block Chevy in it. And the paint, it's an older restoration. I did this about 8 years ago, and I wanted to redo it again, so that's why I'm taking it apart and making it all nice and new and shiny, and hope to have it out soon. And then we have our 1957 Chevy truck. That same thing's a full-on ground-up restoration. From outside, it's gonna look all original, but it's got all new, updated chassis and suspension and brakes. It's got a dual carb 409, puts out about 550 horsepower. It's got a gear vendor overdrive, and yeah, it's getting pretty close. We're doing all the brakes and the wiring and interior, motor's all done, transmission's all done. Hope to get this going within the next 6 months. And yeah, it's got air ride suspension, so it's going to sit really, really low. Right now it's on jack stand, so we can get under it. But another fun project. All right, and then this is, I built this for my wife. It's a 1965 Chevelle station wagon. It's all original. It's got a 327 that we redid. The interior's all brand new. She drives it once in a while. We just had a kid recently, so she's driving the newer car because it's more friendly for the little one. But new engine, transmission. It's got a like 300 horse, 327. Runs good. A lot of people enjoy it. And then we have the 62 Biscayne that I drive all the time. Biscayne's just like an Impala, but it was the one that doesn't have much chrome or moldings. They call it more of like a business coupe. And this has a 348 tri-power that is pretty cool to drive. It's got 3 carburetors that you don't see too often. And this was put together about 10 years ago, painted and all that about 10 years ago, and I drive it quite often. Yeah, it's got 4-wheel disc brakes, no air conditioning though. Just roll the windows down if you need to cool off. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, most of my cars are both. You know, you can put the wife and the kid back there, or you can take it to the track and get some decent numbers out of it. They all run pretty, you know, they're pretty fast. But if you look at them, you wouldn't know unless you start it and hear it.
There are other car enthusiasts with a singular focus who are content with one project.
I've had this truck for about 5 years now. I bought it in 2011. And when I first bought the truck, it didn't run. I had to redo everything, the suspension, the motor, the paint, everything. And it's been a fun project. I've always been interested in cars. My cousin had a '67 Camaro, and every day he needed to do something to it. He was always asking me to help him, so I'd always go out there, you know, help him with holding the light, holding the flashlights, handing him tools, and I just developed a love for old cars. But my favorite part about it is when I see an older gentleman or woman, and they ask about the truck, and it brings them memories of their childhood. I like that. When we were putting the engine together, tried to get it to start, and they got this big old flame shooting out of the carb. It was a timing issue, and it was a total rookie mistake. My problem was that I could not get the distributor cap off the distributor because the screws were seized. So I just kept trying to figure out where the hell timing was, and it was 180 degrees off, and I kept trying to turn it on, I thought it was a fuel issue. Checked that out. The fuel was fine. There was fuel pressure. Everything was good, but the timing was off, and it got this big old flame come out. It was pretty funny. Never had that done before. Never had seen that before. When I first bought it, I was excited. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. I had never built a truck, and it was all an experiment to see what I was able to do with the resources that I had. I took the truck completely apart and put it back together, and just putting it back together was a great feeling, knowing that it was all an experiment and it worked out.
Enrique, the younger brother of Ray, follows in his footsteps, working on more than one project at a time.
It's got an exhaust leak. You can hear the crackling. It's from this side. I think it's a header from hitting the driveway. When I come out, it bends it, and it's cracked the seal. We're gonna buy a new. Other than that, I mean, I've had this thing forever. The engine's got like 10,000 miles on it. I don't drive it a lot. It gets squirrely. Make sure your cameras are still there. Dude, it's got a nice V8. It's factory. AC'd car. All complete. I mean, it's missing nothing. It's got the bench seat, which I like. You know, Hispanics have the chick next to you. So I was gonna flip it because I mean, it's got all the chrome. Somebody can part it out and sell it, but dude, you can't let this car go. For $2,000? I had to drag it onto the trailer and unload it by myself. You saw me moving it earlier, right? It was a pain in the ass, dude. I'm back here pushing and my son's just watching me. So, got the El Camino, which is almost done. It's painted, the frame's done, all the suspension's done. It's got a two-wheeler upper and lower control arms. It's got new power steering, quick ratio, CVP brakes, the C5. It's got new wheels, tires. It's got a new LS3 engine. So that thing's comes out in the new Camaros. It's got LS7 drivetrain as far as or the valve train. It's gonna be a beast, dude. This thing's gonna be fast. Then I got that project right there. It's a 1965 Corvair Corsa. It's the 180. It's a flat six. Essentially, it's like an airplane motor. It's like the Porsche Boxsters. The engine's in the back. This was kind of Chevy's answer to the Volkswagen, which was really popular back in the day. So it's got the essentially it's supposed to have a turbo. It's supposed to have this big turbo right here with the big air cleaner, but they're really expensive. They don't remake them, so you have to find an old turbo system. And then I personally don't work on these V6s, so I had an old man that works on Corvairs. You know, he's gonna look for a turbo. He's gonna build it for me, and this is gonna be essentially my Prius. You know, gets 20 miles per gallon because it's the turbo version. It drives good. It doesn't weigh anything. You know, and you don't kill it. So it's a good car. But my brother kind of was the guy that kind of like, hey, come with me type of dude. We're going to go here. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. Dude, you know how many times I ran from the cops with that guy? Oh, they're coming. We're at a street race. Fucking go jump in a car and fucking take off, dude. That guy was awesome. So if my son can watch it, he can appreciate it. You know, not only does he learn how to put together a car, you know, he learns how to meticulously do little things, take his time, not be angry at certain things, even though most of the time I spend looking for parts to fix this thing. It's like, or tools. You know, it's like you have a tool in your hand 1 minute, the next minute you put it down, when you turn around, it's gone. You know, like right now I'm looking for my my drill bits. That's the stuff that you do. You know, your kids, I mean, if you don't teach them how to do this stuff, they're not gonna want to do it in the future. You know, it's these old cars are probably gonna go away within the next 10 years. You know, there's gonna be, you know, in California, there's gonna be pollution acts. They already want to get rid of them because they pollute. They have no emissions. You join these car clubs and they take donations to fight the environmental, the EPA, because they want to put caps on them. This is it, dude. This is like, these are the last real things that we can keep, and as a whole, no matter what kind of person you are, you can appreciate. I mean, there's not many other things that, you know, that a lot of people appreciate nowadays, you know, collectively, you know, whether you're an older man with a 32 Roadster, or, you know, you're a 30-year-old with a 66 Chevelle, or you're some 18-year-old that's working on a Honda, dude. Yeah, they appreciate it. It's all the same thing. It's a bunch of pieces of metal and plastic that were put together, and they go fast. So, you know, it's one of those things where I want to teach my son. He wants to learn, you know, and I'm glad he's at that age where he's like starting to pick up little things. You know, bought him Lego sets, dude. Card Lego sets. You know, he puts them together. Just like, you graduate them up to this. You know, and if they start doing this, and they get away from drugs and alcohol and all the other stuff. So yeah, I just can't find my parts. I mean, my tools.
Car clubs have existed for almost as long as there have been cars. The scene unites all those with a connection to cars. In this case, that club is the Cadillac Kings.
I ended up choosing the Cadillac for a couple of reasons. One, initially I built lowrider bikes with my buddy, and when it came time as an adult, I wanted to work on another project. I picked Cadillac because my dad sold Cadillacs, still sells Cadillacs, and my dad sells Cadillacs, and I picked this one just because it was a little bit of a challenge. I wasn't really ready for the challenge, but they weren't really reproducing any parts, and you can't really just build it out of a catalog. So I thought that made it seem more interesting, as counterproductive as that sounds, but it's been fun.
It's a sweet spot. It's like owning all cars is like, it goes down to like memory lane, because my grandfather was a president for his car club for 50 years.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, riding in his car. Well, he just passed away. He was a president of his car club for 50 years. His cars were in movies, tons of movies. And I remember, you know, going with them on photo shoots. And it's just, you know, I don't know what it is. It's just, it's a hobby, addiction.
I used to go to this little bar out by my place called the Wooden Nickel, and it's like a double wide. It's kind of a seedy little bar, but they have this patio out front. And I remember hanging out there on Fridays and Saturdays sometimes and seeing this white 68 four-door Cadillac driving by, and I just thought the thing was so cool, man. It just looked like an iceberg floating by. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And since I saw that car, I just always wanted to roll a Cadillac. At that time, it was like the late 90s, and people weren't really driving these big old boats that much. I didn't see them a lot around, so it was so different to me than like the mini truck style that I sort of grew up with. So I had to have one, and I ran across that lady in my neighborhood that had this car, and I picked it up, and it's been a love and passion ever since.
It's just nice to be around like-minded people. I mean, it's across the board, whatever you're doing, people like to be around other people. Like, even if, you know, you're in the same kind of band, you go to concerts with friends, you know, people who are super religious. They go to church, and you know, they have that network. And car club is pretty much the exact same thing. It's just camaraderie, friendship, know-how, someone's brain to pick. You know, whether you're searching for things, or you know, you need to know how to do something, or there's always somebody willing to lend a hand with any of the projects and repairs.
You know, it's even like Corey, all the guys that you know, it's like a small family. You know, it's because away from work, because my work is chaotic, so that, you know, I can call anybody for help. You know, we go together. You know, something that we have a common interest in. That's what I get out of it. You know, and cars, and Cadillac is the best because it takes a special breed to have cars. You can't find parts anywhere. You can't find replacement parts anywhere. So,
you know, I don't know. It's the style. I've always liked older cars. I mean, I went through a phase where I was in a mini truck club, but even then, I had a '72 Chevy. So it wasn't exactly a mini truck, but I don't know. I guess it's my budget or what it was that drew me to old cars, but. I sort of, I guess it would be my budget.
Whether you picked up the hobby through family, decided to have a side project, or just wanted to join a club of like-minded people, cars have been and always will be an important element of connection to life.
Take off into the night. We're